if you don't have much time to actually train in a week, it is so important that the stuff that you are doing is extremely high quality. Now, how can you guarantee that the stuff you are doing is extremely high quality? Well, the first thing is priding yourself in extremely high training standards. Now, most men don't have access to 10 to 20 hours per week to train like professionals. And for us that have access to maybe 3 to 5 hours per week consistently every week, there is an argument to be made that we actually have to have higher training standards than professionals. And the reason for that is we have to make the limited time we have, work as well as possible. If you do not get this right, you will go through years of your life without getting much results. You'll always be stuck on similar weights, on similar machines, not really making much physical progress. Every year you look in the mirror, you will look generally the same. You will convince yourself that you are maintaining when really you just haven't figured it. You just haven't quite figured it out. But you go to the gym, you pride yourself in your training sessions. You just thought that you would get more out of all of your, you would have more fruits to show for your labour. And the problem is with this is that it's inside. Your training standards are how you think, the rules that you follow when you train. So it's not like something that you can physically see. So when you see people in the gym and you look at them and you think, what's he doing? What's he doing? How's he training? Like, you can't see this. These are just the rules every man is following when they're in the gym. And that's what's beautiful about them. Because I could teach you this video today and tomorrow you can put this into practice, right? And I'm so passionate about this. It's the unseen, it's the invisible. And it's fucking great because it is literally a massive accelerator to your training. So, why should you listen to me anyway, right? I'm a former British paratrooper and Special Forces Support Group operator. I've spent most of the past decade training probably thousands of elite soldiers for some of the most harshest risk-to-life environments in the world. You can absolutely guarantee that any physical training instructor from the British Army is a master at maximising the quality of training with extremely massive time limitations, right? It's fucking risk to life. It's risk versus honesty. Right, anyway, so the first thing, take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. The first thing you need to be crystal clear on is the word training. You do not get the luxury of using the word training if you do not have a specific physical outcome aligned with that word. If you don't have a physical outcome aligned with that word, call it exercising and then go and find another video, right? Because I'm not talking to them people. I'm talking to the person that trains but needs a physical outcome and has a physical outcome. That could be weight gain, it could be weight loss, it could be building muscle mass, it could be recovering from an injury, it could be building strong and resilient joints so that you can sprint up and down hills with your kids whenever you want, right? A physical outcome aligned with training. You cannot say training unless you have a physical outcome. So, number one is alignment. Number two, you have to have a program that is aligned with that physical outcome, and you must stick to the plan unless you have a logical justification to make a little change. But the skeleton, the foundation of the program must stay the same. You cannot just look on social media and make changes to your program, because think about it, right? Let's say you've got 5 exercises here. Let's have a look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You've got these 5 exercises and you are now on the path of development. Month number 1, month number 2, and month number 3. You see an exercise on social media. You change your program. So you've got now 3 exercises, new ones, and you've got 2 of the old ones. You're going to go down here and you're just going to you're going to go on that trajectory again. You add a new few exercises in. Let's just do a circle, circle. There's just no consistency. There's no continuity. I'm trying to think of an example of why this is absolutely stupid. I'll tell you what it's good for. It's good for your brain, right? Having change and mixing it up a little bit is great for your brain. However, remember what I said? The first rule, put that pen down, is physical outcome. So fuck your brain, fuck what your brain wants. Your brain wants to keep things fresh, and your brain hates the fact that you're making physical progress. Genuinely. It fucking hates it. Because your brain wants to keep you safe. If you follow the same boring plan over and over again, you will make an insane amount of physical progress. There's people like me that are coaches, and our main job as a coach is making it as easy as possible for you to follow a plan that you previously wouldn't have for as long as possible. Something that I do is people that are injured. People come to me with injuries, grade 2 meniscus tears, rotator cuff tears. On their own, they wouldn't have been able to stick to a rehab plan and then build the strength and the resilience after that. They wouldn't have been able to do it because they would have found it boring. But when I teach them and educate them on priding themselves in this process, there's just something about having a coach that makes you able to stick to the plan for longer than you would have done on your own, which is one of the main reasons you get more results, right? So if you can stick to the plan by yourself for as long as possible, then that is absolutely fantastic, because arguably you're doing a huge thing and you might not actually need to, invest in a coach, which is great. However, if you are terrible at this, then definitely consider investing in a coach that seems like you enjoy his character, his crack, his banter, and you could see yourself working with him. Right. Anyway, enough on that. So we've talked about the alignment, we've talked about sticking to the plan. Number 3. So training, again, all I'm talking about is rules that you need to follow as a man to get the most out of your training. Number 3, pick the best exercises for the physical outcome that you want. Like, there is a lot of negative stigma against bodybuilders, and for whatever you think about their character, or whatever you think about a powerlifter or a strongman, if you want a certain physical outcome, look at the people that do this thing professionally and do what they do, or do some of what they do. So for example, if you want to build muscle mass and you look at you look at a bodybuilder, you think about what workouts he's doing, and you look like, I wonder why he's doing them exercises. Or do you want to gain strength? What exercises does the strongest person in the world do? They are not doing anything crazy, anything weird. They're just doing bread and butter basics to the highest standard. For example, you want to get stronger legs, you cannot avoid a back squat, right? If you want to get a stronger upper body, you cannot avoid bench press. Now, you might choose, a previous version of yourself might have chosen to do exercise ball press-ups because, it works the core stability. Ask yourself, does the strongest person in the world, or does the person in the world with the most muscle mass, do they do this? And this is really important, because you might have, without even realizing, you might have integrated your character with a certain training modality. What do I mean by this? You might want to gain strength and you might want to gain muscle mass, but you find yourself doing a lot of, let's say for example, kettlebells. Now, kettlebells, you will never see somebody who's the strongest man in the world somebody who has the most muscle mass doing kettlebells because they're not heavy enough. But you have integrated a certain training modality, kettlebells, into your life, and now this is aligned with your identity, even though it is a terrible way to develop your strength and your muscle mass. Do you see what I'm saying? And people do this not just with kettlebells, they'll do it with calisthenics, they'll do it with yoga, they'll do it with Pilates. Even though that thing is nowhere near the best use of their time, they do it because they enjoy doing it, essentially, right? And this needs to be challenged because it may be the reason, and it probably is the reason why you're not making anywhere near the amount of progress which you first initially thought you would by allocating all this training time into your week. Because the reason I mention this, and I'm so passionate about this very point in particular, is that decision is emotional. You are making an emotional decision, and this is one of the things. I'm obviously an online coach, and let's say, for example, I have a person that comes to me and they say they've got knee injuries, they say they've got loads of kettlebells. Because they enjoy it, I will put a little bit of it in, right? However, fundamentally, rule number one for me as a coach is them getting results. So if it's going to take somebody 6 months to get results with kettlebells and it'd take them 2 months to get results with a barbell, I'm obviously going to choose what gets them the results quicker. And I would advise you to do the same. That's not to say that you can't not do calisthenics or kettlebells. Just put them to the end of your session for a little circuit, just to give yourself that hormone fix. And one point on this, right? 80% of your training should be logical. Alignment, you should have the alignment. And then 20% of your stuff, you can have some fun. So if you go into the gym and you do 4 exercises to a really high standard, the last exercise you do, the 20%, could be a little circuit with the stuff that you like doing. Do you know what I mean? Never, and this is so important, never put the emotional tick in the box first. Never start a workout with your kettlebells because you enjoy kettlebells. Fuck what you enjoy. Prioritize what gets the best results for the physical result that you want. So important that, I swear to God, because you might comment below and say, oh, well, kettlebells are good, they're functional. I need to take a breath because this is very important. And I am expanding a lot on this point because this is the one that I see most people getting wrong. If you think about general strength, general muscle mass, right? And you have the core, the foundation, the best movements to get that physical outcome. And I call this the functionality rabbit hole. Every step that you take from general strength, which general strength transfers to every endeavor of your life. So, for example, if you want to be better on the mountain bike and you develop your squat to a great level, when you're on the mountain bike, you're going to be able to absorb more force through your knees, more force through your hips, and you're going to be able to pump on the tracks a hell of a lot more effectively because you've got stronger legs. You're going to wake up the next day and you are going to be less sore as a result of having stronger legs, right? But if you chose to do some weird exercise on a Bosu ball where you're jumping up and down a little bit, instead of developing the proper size and strength of your legs, you're not going to get that luxury. So every time you take a step towards functionality or sports specificity, you lose general strength. And if you have avoided general strength and building muscle mass, if you have avoided that for the best period of time, you best believe that that is the huge gaping gap in your training. I'm not going to teach you how to train. The link in the description is to work with me on a one-on-one basis, but I want you to be able to do this yourself. It's just very difficult for me to do that on YouTube because, sometimes you don't listen. Anyway, so logical, not emotional, right? However, I know you're human. I'm human as well. I do jiu-jitsu, right? Jiu-jitsu is my emotional fix. It's fucking great, right? Do not get rid of your emotional fix. Just prioritize your logical training first, right? Hopefully you understand that. I'm going to touch on one more, right? Because I could probably say this is the most important. It is intensity. And this is extremely, extremely overlooked. And I don't think people realise just how hard they need to train in order to get results quickly. For example, you should walk into the gym. You know exactly what you're doing. You know exactly what you're developing. You know exactly what plan you're following. So you're organised. There's no thinking to your training. You've chose the best exercises aligned with your physical mission. Yes, you've got a little bit of enjoyment to look forward to towards the end. You've got a little kettlebell circuit because you like doing kettlebells, or you've got some calisthenics movements at the end of your session for 10 minutes just to give you that emotional fix. But most of your session, 80% of it is logical, 20% of it is emotional and enjoyment. Great. There is one massive point, and this is so important for men that don't have that much time, and it is intensity. You need to train insanely hard. And what I mean by this is it's hard to explain this, but I do a really good job of it explaining it to my clients. You go into the gym, you warm up. You don't warm up doing random things that don't warm up the target muscles. You just warm up with less weight on the movements in which you're just about to do. Don't overcomplicate it and don't waste time. You need to train to failure, right? The standard in which you instill in your mind is a successful set is a set in which I achieve failure. Because what you have displayed is a maximal expression of force in a set. You do that once, you do that twice, then you can move on to the next exercise. In order to get these training standards correct, I would be a massive advocate for your training if you did two sets per exercise, and making sure that you are achieving failure, because failure is not failure. Avoiding failure is failure. Hopefully you understand what I mean by this. And what this actually looks like on the gym floor is the first rep of your top set, your first working set, you want to be like, shit, this is heavy, right? And every single fucking ounce of your body will be telling you to go lighter. You'll go into the gym one day and you'll feel a little bit tightness in your shoulder. Everything will be saying, don't go heavy. Don't take it easy today. You've got this fucking stupid twat in your brain that is telling you to do everything you can to avoid pain and suffering. The only way you can develop your physical capabilities as a man, develop the strength and the resilience of your joints, improve your longevity in all of your crazy endeavours for the rest of your life, is if you train fucking hard. And the whole point of this video is about maximising limited time. And you cannot maximise limited time without training fucking hard. And fucking hard is subjective. So I don't want you to think about words like reps in reserve or 1 rep in reserve. 0 reps in reserve. It's the only way of knowing for certain whether you went to failure is by actually going to failure. Do you know what I mean? Right? With that in mind, you're going to expect a little bit more soreness in your training sessions, right? And you might think, oh, but I don't want to feel too sore during the week. It goes away after a couple of weeks, and 2 or 3 weeks later, you'll be like, oh, it just feels normal. There'll be mild soreness from your training sessions, nothing crazy. But the first time you do this, you can guarantee that you're going to be like, oh, fucking hell. There's a little bit of fear and hesitation associated with training so hard. You might think, oh, I don't want my joints to snap. They won't. Your body is a hell of a lot stronger and a hell of a lot more resilient than you would ever give it credit for. In fact, if you actually went into the gym, warmed up correctly, and actually tried to injure your muscles and injure your joints, you would find it extremely difficult. Right? The last point I'm just going to touch on, I'm just going to say this. Make sure, right, when you have all of these principles in place, the last one, get rid of the shite. If you're doing shitty exercises that waste time, that are unnecessary, that are not aligned with your mission, just get rid of them. Get in the gym, work your fucking socks off, and get out as fast as possible. It doesn't matter about how long your rest periods are. It doesn't matter how long your negatives are on your repetition. None of this matters. It doesn't matter whether you're doing free weights or machines or dumbbell. It doesn't matter. Make sure that you are doing the best in class exercises. Make sure that you're training to failure every single set. Make sure you've done your warm-up sets, plenty of warm-up sets, and do as little as possible in the gym. 3 exercises per muscle group, 2 sets per exercise, and get out of the gym, right? Because when you have limited time, it is so important that you absolutely send it, right? And what this looks like is you'll find yourself looking left and right. After you've done this for a few sessions, you will be very surprised that no one in the gym is actually training very hard. Most people feel a little bit of a burn in their last couple of sets, and they stop the set. Your first rep on every single exercise needs to look like most people's last rep. And this is standards. It's just the rules in which you follow. Your first rep needs to, this is probably too heavy to get 6 repetitions. There is no chance I am getting 10 repetitions. But you're fighting. You're fighting because you care more than everybody in the gym. You care more. And that's what this is all about. It's training standards, the rules in which you follow, because you care more, because you have limited time, and you want the maximum out of your training. It may seem like a lot of information. I hope you can take as much as possible from this video, right? Please let me know in the comments below which ones you have been letting slide a little bit. And if you want to work with me on a one-to-one basis where I can literally design everything out for you, your own high-performance operating system, and work with you during the whole process, then, like I said earlier on, the link is in the description in order to do that. Hopefully that helps. See you in the next one.